We'll take you inside the secret lives of some truly amazing animals like these wild boar, notoriously difficult to film, especially when they're with their young.
Now, our jackdaws are very wary birds, and our camera team have been very, very patient putting the cameras in. But there are some other animals which make jackdaws look positively tame. They are super wary. They are wild boar. This photograph was taken by a photographer, Ben Locke, and he's been photographing wild boar in daylight, I add, out in the forest of Dean. Well, we sent him off with his still camera, but to record some movie pictures of these animals. And this is what he's come up with.
I spend every available moment out here with my camera, photographing whatever I can find. It's just naturally drawn here for the wildlife, the environment, beauty of the place. My name is Ben Locke, and I live here in the Forest of Dean. I'd say of all the wildlife we have, the wild boar has been the biggest pull for me. It's quite a mystical creature, really, and it hasn't existed in the British Isles for at least 300 years or so, and now it's back. The wild boar aren't generally easy animals to find. They don't like or seek out human company. My early time spent looking for the boar was very shambolic, didn't know what I was doing, and after many weeks I got a glimpse of the backside of a boar disappearing into the woods. So that was my first sighting. I'd say I got the bug, really, from there. Boar have a pretty underdeveloped sense of sight, but they more than compensate with supreme hearing and smelling capabilities, and that presents a real challenge when you're trying to photograph them. You need to use the wind, keep the wind on the right side of you, as quiet as you possibly can. Boar spend most of their time feeding. Typically, they'll root up the forest floor, looking for roots, insects, acorns, chestnuts. Boars live in groups known as sounders. They're matriarchal groups. Typically, the sounder will consist of the matriarch sow and her offspring. The sows will team up in twos or threes and form sounders of maybe 20, 25 boar with all the offspring, and perhaps previous years' offspring as well, so you could have 3 generations of boar in the same sounder. Well, the largest group I've seen consisted of about 45 boar, but this is more of an exception to the rule. I don't have a favourite time of year in the forest. It's so changeable. Winter brings a different kind of peace. The forest is very quiet. Earlier this year in the winter, I had made a point to go out and look for wild boar in the snow. Surprisingly easy to find. The prints are fresh and the snow shows them well. It didn't take me long to find boar feeding. What was particularly fascinating was there was a small crowd of robins following her around as she went, making the most of the situation and the food that she was uncovering. The boar seemed a little bit annoyed, actually, and went and began a new patch and left the robins to exploit the area that it had already uncovered. Typically, boar will be born in the spring. Newborn piglets are tiny, but by the time that you stand a good chance of seeing them, they could be compared to perhaps a small Jack Russell in size. They're often known as humbugs due to their stripy appearance. Probably one of my most special moments with the boar was One day when I managed to find a group of piglets who are 2 weeks old, I managed to get within about 30, 40 feet of them. I was actually on lower ground than they were, so I think all they would have seen of me was probably my head, which probably made me quite unthreatening. Mother was mostly rooting around, but the piglets were running around, play fighting. In the end, they were pestering the sow so much for milk that she just flopped on the ground and gave in and let them have their fill. After having spent so long tracking down wild boar and hoping for the perfect opportunity, I suppose, that particular day was the ultimate prize, really.
Welcome to the Ynys reed bed, where we're being eaten alive by micro-predators, mozzies, wild boar. Now, what a wonderful thing, a really thrilling animal to see that. And increasingly you can see signs of wild boar around the UK. Look out around road verges where they've been rooting around at night. So you can see signs of them to actually see a live wild boar, and also these little humbugs, those piglets. What a treat. Fantastic field craft by Ben, so thank you very much indeed for that.